I had a sit out with a client some months ago, and he was actually interested in some of the estates that we have currently for sale at our company. And I was just discussing with him about some of the estates, but then I needed to hear him talk, right? Because obviously he had something to say, so I wanted to hear his story. And I picked something from the story that I want to share just briefly with us in this real estate business. So many a times, it's very possible for you to buy a property, to buy a land. So, and from the documentation process, everything we are seeing on the document is okay. The person's name of the owner of the property is he's actually the owner of the property. There is no issue, but you can still end up going to the court, right? Not because the property is not genuine, but just because there are some little rifts on the property. So this my client ended up telling me as of 2024, he bought a land somewhere in Port Harcourt, and he ended up going to the court. Apparently, the family people, that's why we usually say one thing, that real estate majorly belongs to people, land belongs to people, land belongs to the government, land belongs to families, right? So they went to the court because the family did not agree for that single individual to sell that particular land, right? So the family has a lot of land, they have a lot of land everywhere, but that particular one, they did not agree for him to sell that particular land, and that was just the issue. But glory to God, it was not really something that escalated into something unresolvable. But then when we stepped into the case, the courts just stepped into the case, and with one or two documents to show here and there, the whole process was just resolved. The family were literally on ground, and glory to God, the whole thing was just resolved like that. But it's very possible for you to buy land and still end up going to the courts, not because the land is not genuine, but because sometimes, especially when that's why we tell people that before you buy land, ask questions to know about the origin of that particular property. Ask questions to know about the origin. We still had a case some time ago where a client came into our office, and he we saw the documents and everything, but from the documentation and from everything we're seeing, he was not even the fourth person to buy that property. And we were telling him, but he didn't really believe us until we told him to go back to the person that sold to him, and told him to ask some certain questions to the person. And he did. And he came back the following week with extra two documents. And when we checked from everything, we saw that he was not even the seventh person on that property. But you would not have known if you did not involve a company, a reliable company like Nexura Properties. You would not have known. That's why we tell people, before you buy a land, please do well to ask questions so that you can know the whole origin of that particular property. Where did it come from? Who was the first buyer of the property? These are details that you need to know as an individual. So in case there is an issue later, just in case, you can know how to start defending yourself and defending your property.